Okay, hello everyone. Hope you had a very good day so far. And let's start the last lecture of before the break, which is lecture week 5. And today we are going to talk about the project management itself. So you've done all the planning and you prepared the project charter and everything. So the next step is going to be how would you manage project effectively? So the learning objectives are learn how to use effective communication and leadership skills for project management. So this is one of the most important part of the project management. It's not just about planning, it's also about good communication and leadership skills, which if you don't have that, then you're not going to be a successful project manager. The next thing to learn is learn the best way of organizing meetings and manage team dynamics. So this is another way of working with people, communicating, organizing meeting, which is very important in order to make sure that the project is going to run smoothly and effectively. And the last thing to learn during today's lecture is going to be about agile project management style, which is a bit different from the traditional way waterfall method, which we discussed so far. And we are going to cover that in today's lecture. Okay, let's move on. In a traditional method, this is also a waterfall method. So you got the planning phase of the project, and then you got the next phase is going to be launching the project. So you get your project team and develop manage team, and you explain project guidelines and any objectives, goals, etc., and other things to your team to make sure that you're on the same page with your team and you can get to the targets together. So first of all, you should have a kickoff meeting. So kickoff meeting, as a project manager, you should start that and you need to gather all team members. So this is one of the meetings that you need to get all the team members. Not necessary for every other meeting you need to get all the team members, but for the kickoff meeting, it would be good to have all the team members available. And the reason for that meeting, first of all, you need to describe the goal and objectives of the project that you want to do. So my question to you is that why it is important to describe the goal and objectives to the team. So some of the team members may just have like a small work that they need to do regardless of the objective. So that can be like a kind of repetitive job to them. But why is important that you need to describe the goal and objectives of the project to the team member in the kickoff meeting? Please share your comments on the chat box, or if you want to speak, please raise your hand. I will give you the microphone to speak. Yeah, aligned interests. So this is very important. Make sure that all the team members, they're working as a team. They have a common interest to work on it as in a project. The whole team will be on the same page. Yes, everyone's on the same page. Yep. So 3 response, exactly right. To have clear understanding among members. So this is also very important. Sometimes they don't know what this project is about, why they need to meet that deadline. So if you describe the goal and objectives and describe why this particular thing is important, why this path is critical path, and so they understand why the task that they're doing is important, it needs to be done on time. So everyone can bring on their ideas and inform. Yes, you can share some ideas. So that part of brainstorming, we had it like in the project planning. So kickoff meeting is just kind of sending the information and give an overview and summary of the project. You may get some ideas, so we can improve it later. If during that meeting someone had a question, suggestion, on an idea, so you can take it on. And we discuss about that later. Okay, so you describe the goal and objectives, and you review a gist of the project plan in few slides. So having some slides is going to be important. So in order to provide the gist of information to all team members, not all the team members have the time or interest to read the whole project charter and the project plan. So what you do, you just provide the gist of information, can be a quick timeline or some of the objectives, some of the things that you need to be done, and some other things that you perhaps need to include. Some of that I bring it here. So for example, the communication plan. This is very important because how are the team members going to communicate with each other and with you and with other managers? So you need to provide, so if there is any question, if there is any issue, this is the way that you communicate, okay? The other thing is about the project hierarchy. So who is going to report to who? And this is especially for a new team, that is very important because people often don't know who is the person that they need to report to, or if they have any problem, who the first person they need to ask. If you don't provide that, you're going to be very busy because everyone is going to contact you, and this is going to be a mess for you. So it's better to have like a project hierarchy, so it's in order to all the team members know who is the first person that they need to talk if they have any problem. So how to handle a change request, budget, resources, etc. So for example, your friend mentioned that if they have any idea or if they might request a change. So we discussed about the change management plan. So you need to briefly describe that to your team member if there is any change required, what's the procedure of requesting a change, or if there is any problem with the budget or resources, how they can deal with it. The another important thing is that how to store, edit, and share work files. So this is very important. What's the policy around that? Who's got access to which folders and which files of the project? How do you store it? How do you get backup? So these all things you need to explain it to all the team members. If there is a policy that they need to back up every day or at the end of the week, all the files that they're working on, so you need to explain it and you need to provide more information how. Nowadays, you most of the time you use clouds, so you need to have like a shared drive on clouds so everyone can have access, and then you get permission based on different areas. So you don't need to give permission to all the team members. Maybe based on the work areas that they're working, you can have different folders and give different permission. So that's where you can also protect the files of the project, and then it's also is going to be less messy. The other thing that you need to discuss is about working hours. Do you have a flexible working hours, or is it going to be 9 to 5? What is the lunch break? Can they like get a morning tea or afternoon tea break? So those kind of thing also you need to discuss. Do you have like any happy hours, or what's the culture of working during that time? If you are already part of an established team and you know that how's the work environment, perhaps it's less important to describe that. But if you're forming a new team and they don't know what's going to be the working hours, so they just get employed for this project. So all these things you need to explain. So if there is any other expectation from the team members, you need to provide that. So for example, if there's any house rules or any emergency rules, or like any other things that is expected from the employee or the team members of this project, you need to describe that in the kickoff meeting as well. So after the execution, you got the monitoring and controlling phase, which is going to be a part of the lecture on week 7. So I'll just briefly explain it here, but more details will be provided on week 7. So in monitoring phase, you got the collecting data and see that how the project progress. Most of the time, you cannot stick to the plan. So you need to find out how you're going to respond to changes, problem, and surprises. The other thing is about the controlling, which is going to amending the project plan to keep it on track. So if you need to add any resources, for example, crashing, which we discussed last week, and also if we need more budget, or we need to change the schedule, deadline, etc. So that is part of the controlling methods for project as well. So we'll discuss it later. So let's move on in managing project itself. Effective communication, that is the most important skill that a project manager needs to have. Planning and everything is okay, so you need to be a good planner for the project. You need to understand some technical thing. You need to follow some rules, and you need to have some experience. But if you don't have effective communication skills, you will struggle as a project manager, because it's a job that on a daily basis you're working with different people, different issues. You need to resolve it. You need to make sure that the people listen to you and they follow the thing that you ask them. And so the effective communication is the main thing that you need to work on in order to increase these skills and improve this skill as a project manager. First of all, listen, listen, listen. Don't get distracted with your mobile, for example, while you're in a meeting with other team members. So those kind of thing is not okay as a project manager. So you need to listen to all your team members, no matter it's a small team member or is a member that is very important to the project or is a key stakeholder. So you need to listen to all people no matter what. And you need to understand what they're asking, and you need to respond to that where possible. So the next thing is that get to the points before losing interest. So this is very important. You need to talk effectively. I had a manager before that so he spent like 20 minutes talking about something else, which is not at all related to the topic of the meeting. And this is going to waste the time of all people that are in the meeting. And especially for the meetings that is going to be a lot of people in the meeting, so you're wasting a lot of time. So let's say like you got 20 person in a meeting, and you spend 20 minutes that talking about those things doesn't affect the project at all. And this 20 minutes multiplied by 20% is going to be how much? About 400 minutes. So it's going to be more or less uh, 6 hours or 6 hours and half of time that you're going to be wasted for the project. So this is very important, so to get to the points before losing interest. So, and also people don't follow you if you spend a lot of time talking about the thing that doesn't make sense or is off the topic. So make sure that you get to the points at the start of your talk. The other thing is that tailor the message to your audience. See things from their perspective first. So this is a key things in effective communication. So if you always see things from your perspective, it's very hard to communicate it with the other people. So based on the background of people that you are communicating with in the meeting, you need to see things from their perspective first and start the conversation from their perspective. So that's you can make a good conversation, and it would be an effective communication. So things can get done much more easier that way. And the other thing is that don't lose your temper or be rude. It's possible for a project manager because of all the things that he or she needs to do, and it's going to be a lot of stress. It's going to be um, a lot of anger management because sometimes you're working with very hard people. But the key rule is that don't lose your temper or be rude, and just be positive. If there's something that you are getting very angry, perhaps it's good to just leave it for 24 hours or more, and then get back to that matter when you calm down. Okay, Don't behave in such a way that team members lose interest or motivation. So as a project manager, as a leader, you need to behave in a way that people are keep motivated and don't lose interest during the project. Because if it happens, then the project is going to be less effective, probably it's getting delayed, and the team environment will not be good. So don't condemn anyone or don't criticize. So be positive. And keep your team members motivated. Okay. Another thing that you need to have is watch for unspoken communication, so body language and facial expression. So this is also very important because sometimes the team members may be disagree with you, but they don't tell you, but you can find it from their body language and facial expression. This is not something that they're willing to do. So if you've found that, then you need to address it and make sure that the person has got enough motivation and interest to do the job. So watch for unspoken communication. The other thing is face-to-face meetings and phone calls are much better than chain of email to resolve an issue. So if there is any issue, please don't email to the person or group of people or start arguing with one person in an email and CC a lot of people. So this kind of thing is not going to be effective. So just give that person a call to resolve an issue or organize a face-to-face meeting or go for a coffee or something like that and try to resolve that issue. So the emails are not the tool for resolving an issue or arguments. Okay, keep an open mind and don't be stubborn. Admit your errors and mistakes. So as a project manager, you're going to be the person that other people follows you. So if you get stubborn and don't admit your errors and mistake, you cannot expect from other team members to do that as well. So make sure that you provide an open environment so everyone can admit their errors and they can fix it, and so be open about it. So the other thing is that take a note and think about how to address any complaints or issue. So when someone asking you something in a meeting or they're raising an issue, you first of all you need to listen carefully, but at the same time you also need to take some notes because the two things. First of all, you may forget to address it later if you don't take a note. The other thing is that when you take a note, the other person that's raising an issue, that person feels important, feels the thing that they're discussing is important, so you're taking notes. So this is very good for team morale, and also it shows that you're a good manager and you're taking care of the team members. And don't underestimate any problem raised by team members, no matter how insignificant it might look like. So even though someone may ask a very insignificant thing, so don't just say, no, that's okay, it should be fine, you will get used to it, or some kind of the other thing that is going to be not okay in the team environment. So take note and see that what you can do about that. And if there is nothing that you can do, just talk to that person nicely. I've done this and that. Perhaps the thing that you want is not possible. Maybe is there anything else that we can do for you? That kind of language is much better to just underestimating any problem, no matter of how significant or insignificant it might look like. And the other thing is using email effectively. As I mentioned before, don't use it for resolving an issue or for brainstorming or arguments. So this is not the way that email should be used. And read it twice to avoid miscommunication. Sometimes you read an email, you're probably busy with something else, and you got you have like a misunderstanding about the thing that has been in the email. So make sure that give that person a call, make sure that understand what that person is talking about. If you have any chance of misunderstanding of that, so this is very important. Don't misspell the names, okay? Uh, it's like it's a culture thing. In some cultures, uh, they they are very concerned about how their names are pronounced or spelled. So make sure that don't misspell any names. In some culture, they are cooler. Uh, I have a few French colleagues, and I don't know, do you have any French people here? But they are, if you do, they are very concerned about if you misspell their name. So make sure that you don't do that. And in general, it shows when you spell a name correctly, it shows that you're taking time and you're feeling that that person is important as well. So don't misspell their name because that is their identity. And also don't be vague in your email. So just read it twice before sending out to make sure that all the thing that you're saying is clear. So using bullet point is very important. So if you want to do some action items that needs to be done, so using bullet point is going to be good. And also be careful of humor. So humor, probably the person is going to be with people that you know and they know that they have tolerance of humor, and in environments that is not is it's fun, and also not just in writing, because people may have different understanding of about your humor. Maybe they don't understand this, so it's going to be an issue. Also send follow-up emails when necessary. So when I'm saying the follow-up emails, it's not going to, you send one email in the morning and another email in the afternoon and another email the next morning. So this is not a follow-up email. So normally, if the matter is very urgent, you follow up in 24 hours, or if it's not that urgent, you can follow up in few days or a week or something like that. If it's very urgent, you just give that person a call, follow up by email, or just at the start, give that person a call and discuss the matter. Okay, I've got a book here. The book name is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This is a masterpiece book. I don't know if you've read it or not. This book is quite old, so I think it's more than 50 years old. But there are many things in that book that can influence your life. And also, it makes you a better person, and also it makes you a better project manager if you want to choose your life as a project manager and you want to improve your communication skills. So I certainly recommend that book to you. I brought some of the key concepts from this book here as well, but it's not going to be equal of reading this book. So I definitely recommend you to read this book. No matter of if you want to become a project manager or not, that's the book that is going to influence your life, and then after that, you're going to influence other people. Okay, first of all, become genuinely interested in other people. So that is very important. For example, as a project manager, if you want to ask person to do something, or it's the first time that you're seeing that person, it wouldn't be better to start the conversation and know that people know that person and see that what they're doing, those kind of things, rather than just getting to the point and this is what I want and this is are the criteria, please give it to me by that time, or give it to me ASAP. So this is people are not machine, people are human. So first of all, become genuinely interested in other people and see that that also helps you to see things from their perspective as well. So it brings more effective communication. The other thing is small. It's very important and effective. So try, if you haven't tried it before, try it from now. When you want to bring a kind of a disagreement or an argument, try it with a smile. And see that how much difference you're going to make with just a small. If you don't small, the response that you get is going to be massively different from when you smile at people and you discuss something. So this brings an environment that is going to be more fruitful, and perhaps you can get the things done much easier in that way. Okay. The other thing is that remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. So we discussed before, don't misspell names. Make sure that you remember names. That is also important. If you remember the name of that person, if you met that person once, but you remember that name like a few months after that, it probably happened to you as well. If you remember that person names and you call that person by her or his name, it's going to have like a positive effect on that person. So try that. Try to remember people's name. It's okay if there is a name that is difficult to understand or pronounce. Ask for a spell or write it down. Writing down helps you to remember that name. So make sure that you do that and improve this skill. The other thing is that be a good listener. So we discussed that. First of all, as a project manager, you need to be a good listener. So you listen to your team members, your stakeholders, understand what they want, and try to address any issue or any problem or any suggestion. Talk in terms of other person interests. As I mentioned before, it's very important you start the conversation from that person interest, so that person getting motivated to continue the conversation with you, and that is going to be more effective outcome at the end. Number 6, makes the other person feel important and do it sincerely. So not just saying something that you don't believe, but if you sincerely believe in something, if another person is very important for the part of the project, just say that to that person. Say that the work that you're doing is very important for us. It's very important for this project. Thank you for doing this job for us. When you appreciate people, they're going to be more effective in the work that you do for them. Emiliana is asking, could you please repeat number 5? Something happened with my audio. Sure. So number 5 saying, talk in terms of the other person's interest. So you need, as I discussed before, we need to start the conversation from that person perspective. So we need to understand what is the background of that person, so the work that he's doing in the project. And based on that, we need to start the conversation from their interest, okay? So then it's going to be much more effective communication, and you can get the result that you want much more easier. The other thing that as a project manager, you're leading a team. So you need to win people to your way of thinking. So it's not just by, ordering people the thing that you want. So you need to behave in a way that other people follow you and believe on the thing that you're thinking about. This is going to be the best thing for the project. So there are some steps that you need to take. So I'm going to discuss some of these here. So before that, Bowen asking how to make other people, others feel important. Any specific etiquettes? So there is no specific etiquette for that, but as I mentioned, when one of your team members have done a very good job, so you need to admire that, and you say that, or if you think that this person's job is very great to the project and they've done a great job, so make sure that you mention that. And Also, there's lots of other things. So no matter of what people's doing, if they've done a good job, so you need to just praise that and just appreciate that. So that's gonna work. Okay. So let's like how to win people to your way of thinking. So first of all, the only way to get the best of an argument is just to avoid it. So try to avoid the arguments as much as possible because there is not going to be any winner. If you win the argument, you're just going to hurt the other people's feeling. So it's going to damage the team environment and the project that you're working together. And if also you lose, there's also no points for doing the argument. So both way, there is not going to be any winning for you. So try to avoid argument as much as possible. And sometimes you might be disagree, but it's not a good best time to do an argument. So for example, you got a key stakeholder, they're asking something, but you disagree. So don't argue that with them, because it may affect the project, it may affect the working relations between you and that key stakeholder. So just take a note and think about it and see that how you can resolve that. So some other techniques I'm going to teach you. So that might be helpful in order to avoid arguments, but you try to bring people to your way of thinking. Number two is that show respect for other person's opinion. Never say you're wrong. So this phrase is a bad phrase. Don't use it. Never say to people that you are wrong. Okay. Use mother language, or you may say that that can be right, but I also have another opinion. Would you mind to listen to my opinion as well? So that's kind of thing that provide more an effective communication skills. And as I mentioned, if you're wrong, admit it quickly. So you show that you're not 100% right, so other people can approach you and saying that these things can do better that way. So if you're wrong, admit it quickly. That promote people. If there's something wrong, they come and tell you. If you don't admit that you're wrong and you just humiliate any other person that's come to you and say that you're wrong, then they don't come to you. So and it's going to cost the project and the way that is going to be run. So make sure that if you're wrong, admit it quickly. Begin in a friendly way. So that's another thing that just how's your day, what's you're doing, those kind of thing. How was your weekend? They start the conversation with some common thing and discuss. Maybe it's like not work related, something general. So be friendly with other people, and not just. And then you can discuss. And for example, after 5 minutes of that kind of friendly discussion, say, by the way, this was supposed to be finished last week. Is there any issue that has been not completed yet? Is there anything that I can help? That kind of thing, being friendly instead of just go search that person. These jobs need to be finished by last week. It hasn't been done. Why? That's going to be very different of doing it. So start with question to which the other person will answer yes. So this is very important. Begin by emphasizing and continue emphasizing the things on which we agree. So instead of like arguments, so you're asking something and that person doesn't do that, and you start an argument. No, you need to do it. If you don't do it, we cannot do that. That kind of thing. Perhaps it's better to start asking questions that other person may say yes. So an example of that, let's say that you're a project manager, and one of the things is that you got the stakeholders in the local community. You're going to have a new roads in there, but the local community is against that because saying that it's going to be too much noise, pollution, etc. We don't want it. So let's say that you want to resolve that. One way is that just start an argument with that person. This job is very important. If you don't do that, it's going to damage the community. You're not a good leader. You're wrong. You're opposed to that. So this project provides a lot of job opportunity for your community. That's way the people just get a guard and they just want to be against you. And once they are in that position, there is going to be a limited chance that they can back off from their position. The other way that you can approach that person with a friendly conversation. You may start that, let's say that he's a uh, grandfather or grandmother, and say that, by the way, uh, what do you think about, for example, the future of your grandson or granddaughter? Won't you think that if we have a better transport and infrastructure, it would be easier for the teacher to come here to your community in order to provide better lessons to your grandson? And that person, 80%, 90% can say, yeah, yes. After he came out of the high school, it would be much easier. It wouldn't be much easier for him or her to go to the city to take a job, and then the community instead of like just go and migrate from your community to the city. So wouldn't it be much easier than that person say? And that's you start the conversation like that by saying that person yes, 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 and by the it's you're gonna soften that person, and then you can just try to go step by step in order to win that person to your way of thinking. Okay, so let the other person do a great deal of the talking. So sometimes people come to you, they're angry, something's got wrong, and they just want to talk about this issue. Just let them talk. Okay, no matter it takes 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. Let them talk. Let them they finish. Let them they get calm down, and then after that they are going to be more receptive of what you're saying. Okay, so first of all, let them talk, and at that time you also can take some notes, so you make sure that the other person feels that the thing that they're talking is important. You're taking notes, and then when that person finish, again start with a friendly conversation, and then see that what is wrong and how you can address that, and then that way is going to be much better than a way that person start talking and yet just talk back, and then it's heat up the conversation. I think it's not going to work. Okay, so let the other person feel the idea is his or hers. So this technique is going to work especially with the key stakeholders or the managers. So people like to say that the work that's going to be done is their ideas. So if you got something that needs to be done, and you think that if you say that you go to the manager and saying that this is my idea, let's do that, they might not be receptive to that idea. It's going to put their ideas in their mind, and see in that way you get a higher chance that things can work out, and it's going to be done your way. Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. So this is very important. Sometimes if you don't see the things from other person's point of view, you don't understand what they're talking about. So try as much as possible to understand from their perspective what is wrong, what can be improved, and then see and try things to work out in that scenario, instead of like if you think from your perspective, you just want to meet the deadline, you just want to meet the budget, but maybe in the real world it's not going to work like that all the time. So just listen to that people and see that's what they're talking about, what they're things that they're saying from their perspective, and try to understand and try to resolve that in that way if possible. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, how to be a leader without offending or arousing resentment? So first of all, begin with praise and honest appreciation. As I mentioned, it's very important to, if something good has been done by your team member, just appreciate it and appreciate it in front of the other people so that person feel important. Or also, if there's a group of people doing that, so be honest and appreciate that. So this is very important. Call attention to people's mistake indirectly. No one likes to make mistake, especially in front of others. So if you've seen a mistake by a team member, don't bring it up in a like team meetings. So that's a no-no. So just talk to that person privately and say that what's the problem, how it can be resolved. So don't humiliate that person in front of the others. The other method that works well, talk about your own mistakes before criticizing other people. So for example, you got a new member in your team, they've done something wrong. You can go to that person and say that, look, I know that is you've done this wrong, but when I started here, if it's real thing, I don't need to just muck it up. When I started these things, I also did the same mistakes, but my manager told me to do this and it gets resolved. I think this one can be resolved easier. We can do this, and that in order to make sure that it's going to be done. So that's way that person doesn't feel bad, and so they can provide more to the project and they can feel better and they are going to be more effective. Other than that, if you just criticize that person is going to be less effective in the work that he's going to do for a couple of days, and he feels bad, and that bad feeling is contagious, and this goes to other people around him and to the team as well. So ask questions and offer suggestions instead of giving direct orders. No one likes to take orders. So just don't order things. So for example, this needs to be done ASAP, or we got to meet the deadline by this. You need to finish that by the week, by the end of the week. If you can do it, you need to work over the weekend in order to do that. Instead of that, just offer suggestions and asking questions. So for example, wouldn't it better to do this so we can save some time, so we can finish this task by this deadline? Or asking suggestions. So I would suggest if it's possible, we do this, and that, so we can make sure that we can meet the deadline. As you know, we need to meet this deadline in order for the project to continue because it's in the critical path, those kind of things. So just ask something, no matter about your the position that you have in an organization and the power that you have. Always be nice and ask questions and offer suggestion instead of giving orders. So let the other person save face. Nothing diminishes the dignity of a man or woman quite like an insult to his pride. So as I mentioned, don't humiliate other people in front of the others or even in the private. So make sure that this mistake is something that can happen to anyone and is something that perhaps you can fix it later. So instead of criticize that person and just do it in a way that is going to be the end of the world. So praise every improvement. People love to receive praise and admiration. So when things are working and gets better, just praise it and appreciate that. That's way the person feels good and is going to be much more effective. So use encouragement. So make the fault seem easy to correct. If, for example, you say that, oh, this is a huge mistake, this is going to take ages to be fixed. So you're providing an environment with a lot of stress for that person to fix the problem. But the other way you can just, that can be fixed. I'm sure that if we can do this, that, and then hopefully we can fix it by next week or something like that. Make the other person happy about doing what you suggest. So if you suggest something and you can't understand from the body language or from the response that the other person are not happy or interested to do this suggestion, so just talk about it and see that how you can make that person interested or happy about the thing that you suggest. Otherwise, that person might be an environment that they don't feel to talk back or just argue your suggestion. And that person, although he accepted to do that, but he's not or she's not going to be effectively doing the thing that you suggested. So make sure that the other person is happy and interested about the thing that you suggest. Okay, so we discussed a lot of things about how would be the best way of communication and managing the teams. So I just want to ask this question from you. What are the characteristics of a good project manager in your view? So uh, let's share your view with the other students here so we can discuss more about what do you think that a good project manager should have. Yeah, responsibility is very good. So it's a very important point. So that's project manager needs to be responsible and needs to act uh, based on the thing that has been provided to them. So make sure that he's also patient, it's a good listener, he's got a positive attitude so the work can work positively. Understanding of the project is also important, so they need to know what exactly need to be done. Good coordinator, that is very important as well. So the project manager needs to coordinate a lot of tasks and a lot of people. So if they cannot have this skill in order to coordinate the task and people, so that is going to be a disaster for the project. So being proactive is also important. So make sure that they have always some solution about any issues that may arise. So that comes with a bit of experience in the project management and that they can use those skills. Encouraging others, be a team player. Okay, thank you so much for your responses. So let's move on. So the good and effective communication skills and team management is part. The other thing is that's how you can organize the meetings, which is essential parts of the project management. So first of all, meetings are expensive because it takes the time of a group of people. So time is money. As we discussed, if you gather 20 people and you just waste 1 hour of time for 20 people, it's going to be 20 hours wasted. So in 20 hours, you perhaps can do a lot of things in a project. So the longer the meeting and more people in the meeting, the higher the cost of the project. So make sure that your meetings are effective and only people that need to be there should be there. And make sure that the meetings, it's half an hour, 1 hour, half day meeting. It's not a good thing to have. Maybe it's like a brainstorming session. It can be like up to 2 hours or something because you need more time. But half day meeting, full day meeting, it's not going to be effective. It's just the best way to waste your time and other people's time. So unnecessary and unorganized meetings are project killers. So make sure to avoid. So don't just put a meeting because you're a project manager, you want to meet with people, put like a weekly meetings with no agenda, just to meet people weekly and see that how things going. So there are better way to monitor and control the project rather than just have a weekly meeting or daily meetings. In some projects, in agile projects, is a part of the things that you need to have daily meetings. It's essential for that kind of very fast kind of turnaround in the project. But in a traditional project that can take much longer, so you don't need to do that. Sometimes you don't need to invite all the members for every single problem or decision making. So you need, for example, this meeting, you need to understand based on the agenda, who are the best people to be there. Maybe from a group of members, you can just invite the lead of that group in order to participate, or you can just ask key stakeholders to be part of that meeting. So be effective and productive meeting. Effective and productive meeting can be very helpful. So I'm not saying that you should avoid meetings. Sometimes meeting is the best things to have, but you need to know the agenda. You need to know how much time you're going to specify that, and just make sure that it's going to be effective. So how we can make sure that the meetings are going to be productive? First of all, you need to identify the purpose of the meeting and what would be the potential outcome. So if it can be done by email or phone call, or maybe it can postpone it to another time, so there is no need to organize the meeting. But sometimes you need like approval from the project owner, so you want to present the project plan or something like that, then perhaps the meeting is going to be productive. So first of all, don't organize any meeting without any agenda. And so you need to let other people know what is going to be the list of things that's going to be discussed during the meeting. And you need to also keep track of time during the meeting. So make sure that for each agenda, you specify some time and you keep tracking the time. So make sure that the meeting is not going to be run over time. So limit the attendees. Not everyone should be expected to be in the meeting. So the fewer people, the easier to manage the meeting, and it's going to be more productive. So it's going to be easier to manage the team, and also you don't take time of a lot of people, which otherwise can be spent on doing something in the project itself and be productive. So allot attendees some time for preparation before the meeting. So send the agenda and meeting requests as soon as possible. So maybe like a week before, or at least a few days before. Just don't send out the meeting with agenda last night and meet tomorrow morning. So this is the worst thing that we do as a project manager, unless it's an emergency meeting or something like that. That is going to be a different scenario. Start and finish the meetings on time. So if the meeting is started at 9 a.m., start at 9 a.m. Although if a few people hasn't arrived yet, so you start the meeting. That way, you show that people needs to be punctual. And finish also the meeting on time. So just track the agenda and make sure that the meeting is going to be on time. Sometimes it may take a little bit longer, 5-10 minutes, that's okay. But a meeting that is organized for 1 hour, but it takes 2 hours, it seems that you haven't done a good job in order to track the meeting agenda. So take notes or ask someone to take notes. So sometimes as a project manager, you're going to lead the meeting, so you cannot lead at the same time and take notes. So it's, in that case, you can also ask another team member to take notes for you, or you can just each time ask one person to take notes, and then they can share it with you, and you just go through that and share with the other people. And at the end of the meeting, you share all the meeting notes and any action items to all the attendees, so they know that's what needs to be done after the meeting and what has been discussed. And if there is any absentees in the meeting, you also send that to those people, so they also know what has been discussed during the meeting. Virtual meeting. So now we are in an area of COVID-19, and there are a lot of meetings, and everything is going to be virtual. So in that environment, remote teams are going to be much harder to manage because face-to-face environment always is going to be more effective. So try to communicate clearly. Ask that person that the thing that you mentioned is clear to them, and just get the affirmation. Confirm understanding, because it's easy to get misunderstood or misinterpret things. So make sure that all the people, maybe after the meeting, just write everything, the notes, and make sure that every people accept that the thing that you discuss. Try to avoid email as much as possible for communication, but use it for confirmation of understanding, as I discussed, for meeting notes, action items, agreed plan, etc. Okay, I think that's before going through the rest of lecture, we can have a quick break. And we'll start at 2:10. I'll see you soon. Okay, let's continue. So the next thing is about managing team members. So we got 7 things that you need to consider as things to strengthen the working relationship with the project team members. First of all, the effective communication of roles and responsibilities. So what are the expectations from both sides? So what do you expect from team members and what are the expectation of team members from you? There are a few ways of doing that. It can be just in a startup at the kickoff meeting, or it can be just one by one and just discussing. It can be both orally or written and written the expectation and just swap your expectation and then discuss about that, or you can just discuss it orally. So the second thing, give a specific and achievable goals. First, ask yourself whether it is reasonable or not. Don't ask something that even yourself cannot do it and expect that that person might be able to do that. So make sure that the goals and deadlines are manageable and then ask the team members in order to deliver that and provide any support and remove any obstacles. So help in any way that you can to make sure that things are going and things are moving. And respect all team members and treat them equally. So this is very important in team environment. And provide feedback and help as soon as possible. So when they ask something or they raise any issue, try to address it as soon as you can. So build the trust and tell the truth. So as a project manager, as a leader of the team, you need to make sure that you are building a trust. So if you tell lies, then you shouldn't expect from the team members to not lie to you. And communicate regularly, but effectively. So you don't need perhaps to have a daily meeting or weekly meeting, but make sure that there is a good communication between you and your team. So what would be your response if a team member does not meet a job expectation or repeatedly misses the deadline? Assume that you're a project manager and you got a team member that doesn't meet the job expectation and repeatedly miss the deadline. So what would be your approach? So first of time, call attention after several times, take a stronger measures. Good. So by stronger measures, is there any specific thing that you want to do? Ask the reason and make punishment. Oh, harsh. Schedule a one-to-one, discuss their performance, why they think that it's not going the way and how you can fix it. Yeah, that's a good way. Okay. Okay, I've got mixed responses, some very harsh things and some productive thing. Yeah, but one thing that is very important, no matter what you do, is that first of all, make an open and honest discussion with that person. Maybe there is something wrong that maybe something happened to that person in personal life that they're engaged something else. So don't be harsh. First of all, understand and try to be open to that person so that person can also open up and discuss about anything or if there is any work issue, personal issue, something else. So then they can see that what is the problem first of all. And after you get understanding of the problem, Maybe that person is just lazy, or maybe it's not a good fit for the job, but you don't know unless you don't ask and you just get to bottom of it. So first thing that you do, you just uh, make a one-on-one meeting and just discuss and make an open and friendly discussion, and just provide an environment so that person can talk about things. And then after, you just to get bottom of that issue and see that what is the issue, and based on that you do some measures if there's anything that you can help, and you think that after providing that help things can uh, get back to normal, then use that. If there is something that cannot be fixed, then perhaps you go ahead with more severe um, response, like send a warning, or just give a deadline to person to make things better. And if it doesn't happen, then you perhaps discuss with HR and see that what options that's available to you. But first thing first, make sure that you communicate well with that person and understand the problem, not just the surface of it. Okay. So the team dynamic. Sometimes you're working as a team that you've been working with for a few years, or you're part of an organization. So you know all the team members, you know the team dynamics. So things can get done much more easier. But sometimes you're a part of a new team and you're managing a new team with a lot of new staff and also a lot of contractors. So that's going to be a hard job for the manager to monitor the team dynamics. So based on Bruce Stockman model, so we got 4 stages in a team dynamic for new teams. So which performance versus time is going to be like the graph. So first phase is going to be forming, and then which is going to be a good level of performance. And as it goes, the performance drops because it's a storming session, and then it's again increase to norming and then performing. So let's discuss one by one what all these 4 stages are. So the forming is going to be individual start to form a team and know each other. So nice to meet you. What's your background? Those kind of thing. And the PM gives team members roles and to use the project goals and give directions. And also at this stage is often the authority of the project manager can be challenged by team members because it's a new project manager to the team, and just try to earn respect and focus on project goals. So if they don't listen to you at the start, it's fine. So make sure that lift up team environment and just think about the project goals and how as a team we can work together to achieve project goals, and use some of the effective communication skills which we already discussed. And then it's going to be the storming session. So you assign the tasks, you discuss the project goals, and then the teams are going to work individually as a part of the team. And that brings an issue if they are new to each other. Because it's going to be some power struggle and difficulty making decision, and works can get delayed, and also it's they don't understand how to communicate well with each other, or something else, some other issues may arise of lack of communication or lack of understanding. So as a project manager, you need to take an advantage of this agreement and open up effective communication to solve the problems peacefully. So make sure that if there's any problem arise, just ask the parties of that argument to come to a meeting so discuss it openly and see that how we can resolve that and how we can be as a one team in order to achieve your project goals. So keep everyone reminding about the project goals and not personal liking. So this is important. So it doesn't matter how you've done this before. Now in this environment, it's better to all of us think about the project goals that's already established and see that how we can effectively get to this project goal. So Yang asking, what's the difference between the forming and kickoff meeting? So kickoff meeting happened in any start of any project. So you gather all the people, all the team members, and then no matter if they knew each other or if they worked with each other before. So that's you just do that. So forming can be part of the kickoff meeting as well, but this stage is normally labeled to the teams that are new. So they haven't worked with each other, or most of the team members haven't worked with each other, so they new to each other. So this forming, storming, norming, and performing is our stage for new teams that they haven't worked with each other before. But forming and kickoff meetings can be part of the same thing if you're discussing about the new teams. Okay, so norming. So after of the storming and all the issues and miscommunication, you got the norming. The team finally understand and respect the common goal and try their best to achieve it. And PM, but still needs to closely monitor the team environment and project performance. So things getting better. It's going to be much more positive team environment. And then you got the performing, which the team know what to do and it do it rightly and quickly with less intervention from the project manager. And project manager only needs to step in when a team member is asked. So when you got established team, you already in the performing section if you got a good team. But when you got a new team, so all these stages need to happen, and you need to be aware of that until you got a team that is performing. Okay, technical teams. So managing technical team members can be difficult because of lack of understanding. So they may ask about something or an issue that from their perspective is a big issue, but from your perspective, it might not be. So that can become a challenge. So first of all, help them understand business objectives and priorities as they may spend hours in technical issues that may not be important. So make sure discuss with them not just about the technical issues, but how if we fix that is going to related to the business objectives and priorities. Is it something that is just good to have, or is it something that if we don't have it, is going to be an issue in delivering the project? And based on that, prioritize the tasks. So avoid adding technical features with an expensive cost tags that don't need the business needs, although it might sound cool. So there is a tendency for technical teams that they want to add features on top of features to make either the job easier or make the things better, or it's the way that they like it. But as a project manager, you need to make sure that you don't add things with expensive cost tags. Maybe some features can be done like with minimum amount of time and budget, so why not having that? But if there is something that takes a lot of time and cost, and so it's something that you probably avoid if it's not part of the project objective. So definitely consult with technical teams and ask their opinion. They might have a very good solution, but maybe they're reluctant to say it when they are not asked. So especially in the brainstorming sessions, the technical teams are must-have, so they can provide a lot of good insight and suggestions which you can use for managing the project. So make sure that you got a flexible approach with technical teams. So at the start of the project, give technical team enough room to foster creativity and finding out the best solution, although with time limits. So as I mentioned, the brainstorming is a good to ask technical team to provide anything that they think that is going to work as a solution to developing a new product or upgrading a product that you already have or anything else or solving a problem. So technical team can provide some good insights. But later, make sure that you keep them on track as less interesting tasks might get delayed. There's a tendency in technical teams that they just want to or they prefer to work on the tasks that are more interesting to them, regardless of the project objective. So make sure that you keep on track. So That's all the things that needs to be done on time. So you can also create a flexible, like floating working hours for the technical team, so they can probably work from home if it's possible, or they can start late, or they can finish late. So those kind of thing normally it works for a technical team. And maybe a nourishing environment in some companies for their creative and technical staff provide some areas that they can like quiet areas that they can use for focusing, or some things that they can interact with each other in a creative environment. So like it can be as simple as having a whiteboard or something that they can write their ideas and discuss with the other team members. Okay, so that was all about the best way and effective ways of managing teams and communication skill as a project manager. The next thing that I want to discuss is about the agile project management. So far we discussed about the traditional way of doing project, which is waterfall project. But the agile project management has got a quick turnaround and frequent changes during the lifestyle of project. So in waterfall projects, you plan, create, review, and release. Let's assume that you got a product here. Uh, but in agile project, each features you got create, review, release. You got plan, create, review, release, and another feature plan, create, review. So as you have different features that's going to be released one by one. So a different strategy for planning and managing is required compared to traditional or waterfall project, because it's much more quicker. You just quickly plan, create, review, and release, compared to the waterfall projects. So you plan everything ahead, and you just go ahead and you just monitor and control and execute, and then at the end of the project you review the results. So in agile project management, work package is distributed in small time periods. So usually 12 to 12 weeks, which is called iteration or sprints. So each iteration provide different features, and that different features can be different features of one product, or can be different project as a part of a bigger project, or they may or may not be related. So, but each iteration delivers a complete and ready to use feature. So it's not like saying that we are want to construct a building and then so we use iteration for each part of that building, you know. Because, or if even if it's that the case, so this is need to be complete package. So for example, the plumbing can be one iteration, or the all electrical board can be one iteration. So those kind of, so it needs to be a tangible things after finishing that iteration or sprints. The reason that they do agile project management, because the value is delivered sooner. Because for example, if it's a software, if you release a feature, you can get the feedback sooner. And otherwise, if it's waterfall, you need to wait 1 year, 2 year, unless all the features will be released at the same time, and you need to get the feedback. So that takes time. But in that case, you can just release the beta version, for example, of that feature, get feedback, fix it to another iteration, and then release it back. That kind of thing can be a good thing for agile project management. So the agile philosophy. So excellent teamwork, great communication, and quick interaction is essential for agile projects. So if you don't have established team or great communication, or it's a new team, perhaps the agile project is not something that you should have. So the goal is to produce a product fast, so it's not suitable for organization with many level of decision making and lots of bureaucracy and documentation. So maybe for government projects, that would not be a good thing to do. But maybe for like for startup companies that they just want to release a product as soon as possible, agile philosophy is one of the things that they may consider. Customer is more engaged and often collaborate in Agile project. So that's another feature that Agile project needs to have because constantly you need to communicate the features and get feedback from the customers from each iteration to another iteration. So if the customer is busy or don't have time in order to be in the meeting with you, like in weekly meeting or at least, then perhaps Agile project management is not going to be a good solution. And also frequent changes are expected because Agile philosophy use the change to provide more value. So uh, you release one feature, you get feedback and see that what is wrong. You plan for another feature or upgrade of that feature, and then it's getting changed one after another. So although that's at start of your project, you know exactly what features based on the budgets and time you want to have. But when you release the first feature based on the feedback, maybe you can uh, prioritize again the other features, or maybe remove one of the features or add another feature. So that's the philosophy of the agile projects. So in agile projects, time, costs, and quality are fixed, and based on that, feature is planned and developed. Compared to the waterfall, which you have a scope of work, and based on that, you as a part of project planning, you find out that what time, cost, and quality you need to have in order to deliver the objectives of that scope. But in Agile Project Manager, you're saying that, okay, I've got this team for 6 months, I've got $500,000 budget, and these are the things that I want to have, these the products, and these are my objectives. So based on that, how many features I can develop, or what kind of products I can develop, and based on that, you will define those features. So Agile project starts with a vision where the goal and boundaries for a feature are defined based on fixed elements, which is time, cost, and quality. And then based on that, team members will be selected. Normally, current staff, as I said, they need to have a good communication skill. So if there are new teams, probably they're not the best for Agile projects. A quick guidelines to run the project, for example, working hours, communication methods will be established. And then after that, you got to speculate, explore, and adapt phases for each iteration to develop and test features. And also risk is managed with frequent release, beta version of trial. So as I mentioned, you release one feature and get feedback and fix it for another feature. And this is the way that Agile is going to work. But let's discuss about the phases of the agile project management, which is going to be a speculate, explore, and adapt. Uh, Before that, let's discuss about what needs to be done in a speculate. So in a speculate, we need to have the requirements, so business function that will be addressed. So, and which features what going to be developed to satisfy those business requirements. So what is our business? What is our plan? What features, for example, if it's a new software, what features this software should have in order to get to that business function? And what's going to be the time, cost, and resources for each features? So you bring different features and see that's based on the time, cost, and resources, how many of those features you can do, and you prioritize it. Any risk, if there's any risk related to those features, will be documented and also mitigated. So in the explore phase, so you have different features, and each feature has got its own iteration, which is you release at the end of that, you're gonna release that particular feature or product. So during that, you got the frequent peer reviews with the customers and the others, so that they give you feedback, pros and cons, and if there is any issue that you solve. And also frequent tests and trials will be conducted to see how the features work. So after this, you're developing and exploring and you're testing in the explore phase. And after that, you're going to be the adapt phase. So adapt phase, feedback or address and issues gets resolved. Um, so you release the product, you get the feedback from the customer. Customer will be engaged, and also you will review the lessons learned during that iteration and make sure that you, if anything goes wrong, you don't repeat it for other next iterations, and also if something's worked, you try to do it in next iterations as well. So this is the whole picture. So in the Envision, so you get all the features that you want to do. So you got a brainstorming. So what features that you want to have, you just put it like in a sticky notes and then discuss. And then the next phase, then you got the feature list, and the next phase you got the speculate. So speculate, you just get all the time, costs money that you want to have, and then you start with the first iteration, which is the one with the highest priority. So you got a release plan, and so you said that, okay, based on this time and costs, you're going to start the project on this date and finish it on that date. This is the budget that we are going to spend, and this is the feature that we want to have. So this is part of the release plan. And based on that, you explore. So you start building that feature, and you test it, and you communicate it with the customer. And at the end, you just complete that feature and you release it. And then it's going to be the adapt version. So in adapt version, you get any lessons learned, any feedback from the customers. That's you can fix it not for this iteration, but for the future iteration. So you just make a note. So this is going to be beta version. For the alpha version, you see that's what didn't work. So you just fix it in another iteration, because the iteration can be changed. You can add another feature with another iteration, or change the other iteration, and then you can manage it. So this is the way that Agile project is going to be very useful for that types of project, which is a lot of changes may be required based on the customer feedback. So first iteration, identify and estimate all project features. So the first iteration that you do, for example, let's say that's a beta version of a software. So based on that, you get feedback and you fix it in future iteration to the other versions of the software that you release. So it's recommended to write all planned feature and sticky notes. So in the brainstorming session, so you can discuss so which features we want to have and prioritize it. And the business and technical teams then review the features and prioritize them. So not all the team members will prioritize the iteration in the same way. So it's important that business goals come first. So as a project manager, you can monitor that and see that feature iteration would be better, and also you can get feedback from the project owner. Excess features can be trimmed and postponed for future project based on the time and resources available. So you got all these features in different iterations, but if you don't have enough money to do it all, so you can just keep it in the log, and in the future you may do it, or based on the first iteration feedback, some of the features that wasn't in high priority maybe become high priority after the feedback of the first feature, and you can come back to your project backlog and just get that iteration done sooner. So once the team are satisfied with their list of iteration, then the customer or project owner will be involved, and you just go through the plan, the recommended features, and the schedule. So each when each feature is going to be released, And after the confirmation, the project can get started for first iteration. And then you also engage the customer during each iteration, and also really at the releasing of each iteration. So in the Explorer stage, so it's the uh, stage that there is going to be intense work of team members and the project manager. So in this environment, you need daily meeting. Let's, for example, a feature needs to be released in a month. So this is agile, so it's very quick. So in that environment, you perhaps need to have a daily meeting at the start of the day to go through that. What was completed the day before? What tasks are under progress and not started yet? So you can, as a project manager, see that how things going and just delegate the tasks to people. And also you discuss what is planned for today and what are everyone's tasks to be completed today. So you also, if there is one person with a lot of tasks and another person with less tasks, so you can just distribute the task evenly to make sure that the work can be done quickly. So if there is any idea, you will discuss it, and if there's any issue is going to be raised, or if there's any team members struggling, so that would be discussed. And but nothing gonna be resolved in a daily meeting. So daily meeting is going to be very quick meetings, maybe half an hour, maximum 1 hour. And but you take a note if there's any issue, and then you find a designated team to work on that issue and come up with a result. And then that will be reported in the next meeting. So the contribution of project manager to agile project is just to remove obstacles. So this is going to be a stressful time during the explore, and the whole agile methodology is very stressful. So you need to make sure that you remove the obstacles quickly. You just track the progress and make sure that you're gonna be on time in order to release that feature, and also you resolve an issue. So it's also important to have a very experienced project manager for agile project, and also a very good team in order to make sure that everything is going to be delivered on time. Project manager also keep the stakeholders informed about the progress, so it's going to be more often because the duration of the agile project is quite small. It can be 2 months, maximum 12 months. And also you ask a team to stop working on a feature when the iteration ends and get them back on track. So sometimes when the iteration is finished, so all things need to be finished. And if there's anything, any lessons learned or anything that needs to be worked on for in another iteration, then that is another job. So when the iteration is released, the job is done. So you need to just ask the team member to stop working on it and focus on the next iteration. And if you got any incomplete feature, we'll go to the backlog for future project to be done when extra time was found in later iterations. So in ADAP stage, you already released the feature. So you see that what you've done. So you got one iteration, what you planned, what is was unplanned, how much was completed, how much was delivered. So those kind of things, any lessons learned, but those things discussed, and you take the lessons learned from that iteration. So you don't do the same mistake again, or if there's anything that's helped with that, you also do it in the future iterations. So that stage is the best time for review and reflect and make conclusion and suggestion for future iterations and also for future projects. So don't skip that stage. So make sure you have it and organize it as a project manager. So there's a lot of lessons that can be discussed within the team, and it can be helpful and make the team more effective in the future project. Also, customer review will be gathered and discussed within the team. Any feedbacks from the iteration that has been released? Are the features working correctly? Is there any issue that needs to be fixed in the future iteration? And also discuss about the intended business benefits. So after finishing off that feature, did it actually manage to get to the business objectives, or it wasn't that successful? And finally, you just celebrate the work done. It was an intense few months in order to release an iteration. So just celebrate the work that you've done at the end of that iteration. Okay, I think that's the end of today's lecture. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat box or on a Slido. I'll be here in the next 5-10 minutes to answer your questions. Otherwise, if you don't have any questions, have a good rest of the day. Next week is going to be non-teaching week, so we don't have any lectures or workshops. And the next lecture will be 2 weeks from now, which is going to be the week 7. And we are going to discuss about the project monitoring and control, and a little bit of project selection. Thank you. There is just 1 week's break. So the next lecture going to be on 28th of October. So the non-teaching week is going to be only next week.